Good day, everyone. Last week, we discussed about crimes against the fundamental laws of the state. Now we will be discussing Title 3 under the revised Penal Code, Crimes Against Public Order. So there are 25 sections under this title. So we will discuss them one by one, okay? First, rebellion. Article 134, rebellion or insurrection. So it's the difference between rebellion from treason, for instance, from Title 1. Okay, if you remember Title 1, the crimes that are committed within that title, many of the crimes that are committed under that title is committed during the state of war. Okay, well, rebellion or insurrection here, uh, we are not in a state of war. We are in the public uprising starts internally. So we are not at war with other countries. Unlike in treason, we should be in the state of war because we are in a war with against other countries. Okay, so the public uprising and taking arms is against the government. So the purpose of the uprising is to remove from the alliances to the government or its laws Philippine territory or any part thereof or any body of land, naval, or other armed forces, or to deprive the chief executive or Congress wholly or partially of any of their powers or prerogative. So if you listen to the news, there are rebellion. There are countries that are under the state of rebellion. Distinction between rebellion and sedition. So, as to nature in rebellion, there must be taking up of arms. Okay, so it must be armed against the government. In sedition, it is sufficient that the public uprising be tumultuous. So kung magulo lang siya, so it's sedition. If it's with arms, then it's rebellion. The purpose as to the purpose in rebellion, it is always political. Article 134-A, coup d'etat. Okay? Coup d'etat. So in coup d'etat, the offender is a person or persons belonging to the military or police or holding any public office or employment. So dapat either military officer siya, police officer siya, or meron siya posisyon sa government. So it is committed by means of a swift attack accompanied by violence, intimidation, threat, strategy, or stealth. Stealth do, ano bala do, trinaidor do patago. And the attack is directed against the duly constituted authorities of the Republic of the Philippines or any military camp or installation, communication networks, public utilities, or other facilities needed for the exercise and continued possession of power. So kung bombahan for example, ang isa ka military camp, ipatumba ko ng mga communication networks, and that is coup d'etat. If the person committing it is a public officer, military officer, police officer. The purpose of the attack is to seize or diminish state power. So it must be to na, like for example, panaugo ng mga ara sa position or to sabotage those nga ara sa position or to diminish ang powers ng state. So, there's an example of coup d'etat that happened sa, if I'm not mistaken, Manila Hotel before, di ba? Sometime ni Gloria. So, doon nag-uprising ang mga military officers, members of the armed forces. So, yes, that's one example of coup d'etat. So, who are the persons that are liable for rebellion, insurrection, or coup d'etat under Article 135? So the leaders and the participants. So paano mamambala? Mga leader siya. So leader siya kung he is a person who promotes, maintains, or heads a rebellion or insurrection, or a person who leads, directs, or commands others to take up or undertake a coup d'etat. Okay? Participants, ang mga tao naman nga nag-execute sa command of others in rebellion, insurrection, or coup d'etat, or any person not in the government service who participates, supports, finances, abets, or aids in undertaking a coup d'etat. Okay, so mga financer, mga patago na nag-suporta. Okay? Article 136. Conspiracy and proposal to commit coup d'etat, rebellion, or insurrection. So pwede nga ang coup d'etat, rebellion, or insurrection, hindi siya nga madayunggid. Pwede nga conspiracy or proposal pa lang. So conspiracy and proposal to commit rebellion are two different crimes. So first, conspiracy to commit rebellion. Second, proposal to commit rebellion. Okay? There is conspiracy to commit rebellion when two or more persons come into agreement to rise publicly and take arms, dapat there is taking up of arms against the government for any purpose, for any purposes of the rebellion and decide to commit it. They should decide to commit it because if they do not decide, there's only a proposal. Okay? Kung one party lang. The person who had decided to commit the uprising, gin-propose niya to another person. Does not mean necessarily nga gin-accept sa gin-proposal niya. So, kung gin-accept sa gin-proposal niya, that's conspiracy already. So, if not, that's just proposal. Article 137, disloyalty of public officers or employees. So, still, this is connected with rebellion. By failing to resist a rebellion by all the means in their power and by continuing to discharge the duties of their offices under the control of the rebels and by accepting appointment to office under them. So, offender must be a public officer or employee. So, that is disloyalty. So, nangyayari na state of rebellion, may public officer or employee nga who committed the acts punished that I read earlier, na siya, maging liable siya under this article. Okay? Article 138, inciting to rebellion or insurrection. Elements, offenders does not take arms or is not in an open hostility against the government. He incites others to the execution of any of the acts of rebellion. The inciting is done by means of speeches, proclamations, writings, emblems, banners, or other representations tending to the same end. So, what do we mean when we say inciting? Diba do ginaganyak? Gina-convince. Okay? Distinction between inciting to rebellion and proposal to commit rebellion. In both crimes, offender induces another to commit rebellion. In proposal, the person who proposes has decided to commit rebellion. In inciting rebellion, it is not required that the offender has decided to commit rebellion. In proposal, the person who proposes the execution of the crime uses secret means. In inciting to rebellion, an act is inciting is done publicly. So like mga speeches, di ba, may mga muna. Makiba ka, wag matakot. Or things like that. So sa mga rally, sometimes you can hear incitings, di ba? But there is a thin line between freedom of speech and inciting to rebellion. So it's left na to the judgment ng courts if ever nga ang naga-speech, for example, sa isa ka public rally is charged with this crime. Sedition. So, sedition. Ano man niyang sedition? So, offenders, nag-arise sila publicly and tumultuously. Offenders employ force, intimidation, or other means outside of the legal methods. So, but outside of the legal methods. Purpose is to attain any of the following objects. Prevent promulgation or execution of any law or holding of any popular election. So to prevent the national government or any provincial or municipal government or any public officer from exercising its or his functions and prevent the execution of an administrative order. C, to inflict any act of hate or revenge upon the person or property of any public officer or employee. And to commit, no, no, to commit for any political or social end, any act of hate or revenge against private persons or any social classes, to despoil for and to despoil for any political and social end, any person, municipality, or province or the national government of all its property or any part thereof. So persons liable for sedition are the leaders and persons participating. Conspiracy, there is a crime when a person, there is a commission of this crime when a person has when people or the persons come into an agreement and decided to commit sedition. Okay? There is no crime. There is no crime ang ginatawag na proposal to commit sedition. Okay? Because sedition gani, diba, sa sedition, okay. I forgot what I was going to say. Article 142, inciting to sedition. Inciting others to the accomplishment of any of the acts which constitute sedition by means of speeches, proclamations, writings, emblems, etc. Uttering seditious words or speeches that tend to disturb public peace, writing, publishing, or circulating uh, scurrilous libels against the government. So dapat mga libelous materials against the government or any of the duly constituted authorities thereof which tend to disturb the public peace. So elements, offender does not take direct part in the crime of sedition. He incites others to the accomplishment of any acts which constitute sedition, and inciting is done by means of speeches, proclamations, writings, emblems, cartoons, banners, or any other representations tending toward the same end. So, Article 143, acts tending to prevent the meeting of the Congress of the Philippines and similar bodies. So, elements, there is a projected or actual meeting of Congress. So, may ganyan na scheduling sessions, guys, or any other committees or subcommittees, constitutional committees, or divisions thereof, or any of the provincial board or city or municipal council or board. So, mga sanggunian, naman na siya. So, the offenders, who may be any person, prevent such meeting by force or fraud. Okay? Article 144, disturbance of proceedings. Elements, there is a meeting of Congress, may session naman sila, or any other committees, subcommittees, constitutional commissions, or committees or divisions thereof, or any other provincial board or city, municipal city, council, or board. So, mga sanggunian, gani liwan. So, offender does any of the following acts, kinadisturb yung meeting or behaves while in the presence of such bodies in such a manner as to interrupt its proceedings or to impair the respect due it. Okay. So another crime, which includes parang pag-anubla ng meetings ng Congress, is Article 145, violation of parliamentary authority. So acts Spanish, using force, intimidation, threats, or frauds to prevent any member of the Congress from attending meetings of Congress or any of its committees or subcommittees, constitutional commissions, or committees or divisions thereof, or from expressing his opinion or casting his vote. Diba? Diba, when they have a session, sometimes they have voting, like if kung ipasa ang bill niya ini or hindi, di ba? So, elements, offender uses force, intimidation, threats, or fraud. Second, the purpose of the offender is to prevent any member of the Congress from attending, from expressing his opinion, or casting his vote. So, ang second kind, di ba, act Spanish, the first kind is as discussed earlier. And then the second kind is arresting or searching any member of the Congress while Congress in regular or special session, except in the case when such member of the Congress has committed a crime punishable under the code by a penalty higher than prison mayor. So, offender is a public officer or employee, nag-arrest siya or nag-search siya sa members ng Congress, sa mga police officers, for instance. And then, the Congress at the time of the arrest or search is in a regular or special session, or any member arrested or searched has not committed a crime punishable under the code by a penalty higher than prison mayor. So, diri guys, may, di ba, sa Constitution, may ara na dirasang ginatawag ng Parliamentary Authority nga ang member of the Congress, while in session, dapat hindi siya ma-aresto. But then again, there is an exception. Dire, nga kung ang penalty is higher than prison mayor, or actually above 6 years man, di mo? So, above 6 years ang penalty, dapat hindi siya pag-iano kung hindi man lang higher sa 6 years ang iyang penalty. Pero kung higher than 6 years, pwede siya ma-arrest or ma-search while Congress is in session. So that is the benefit or immunity given to the members of the Congress. Why is this benefit or immunity given to them? Because sometimes basi kasuhan lang siya or charge siya sa isa ka crime just to prevent him to cast his vote, di ba? So members of the Congress must be protected man because basi kaga ita-attack sila politically, di ba? But if the crime committed has penalty higher than the prison mayor, then he can be arrested or searched even if the Congress is in session. So, ano na siya. Illegal assemblies. So, di ba, sa previous natin nga discussion, sa crimes against the fundamental laws of the state, Title 2, may nakabutang to nga, it is a crime for a public officer or employee to disrupt peaceful meetings. Diri naman niya, sa mo ni, hindi pwede kung may illegal assemblies. So kung dito, dapat syempre ang assembly must be or the meeting must be lawful man. Pero kung illegal siya, then the participants and the persons organizing the assemblies may be punished under this article. So Article 146, illegal assemblies. Acts punished any meeting attended by armed persons for the purpose of committing any of the crimes punishable under the code. So there is a meeting, a gathering of a group of people, whether in a fixed place or moving. Pwede sa salakyan, pwede sa bus. The meeting is attended by armed persons, so dapat may arms. And the purpose of the meeting is to commit any of the crimes punishable under the code. Like, for example, robbery. Any meeting in which the audience, whether armed or not, is incited to the commission of treason, rebellion, or insurrection, sedition, or assault upon persons in authority or as agents. So elements, may meeting, tapos may audience, armed or not. Dapat this, di ba sa first nga kind, dapat armed din sila. So dire, pwedeng armed or not, and is incited to the commission of the crime of treason, rebellion, or insurrection, sedition, or direct assault. So persons liable for illegal assembly, organizers, and person nearly present. So, yun. Any person present in the meeting carries an unlicensed firearm. It is presumed that it is for the purpose of the meeting insofar as he is concerned. Is to commit the acts punishable under the revised penal code, and he is considered a leader or an organizer of the meeting. So dapat man lang illegal ang purpose ng meeting. So there are two forms of illegal assembly: armed and unarmed. This is in your module. So distinction between illegal assembly and illegal association. In illegal assembly, there is a basis of liability and gathering for illegal purpose, di ba? In illegal association, the basis is the formation or organization of any association to engage in a lawful purpose. Like, makomit ka mo form ka mo sang gang, the purpose of the gang is to commit crimes, for instance. Or like, for example, to gang nagapusher ka mo sang prohibited drugs, di ba? So it includes violations of special law or those against public morals. Meaning of public morals, inimical to public welfare. Hindi man sila nga decent or huwag gahuba or hindi. Okay, so illegal associations, we discussed this earlier already. So associations totally or partially organized for the purpose of committing any of the crimes punishable under the code. Associations totally or partially organized for some purpose contrary to public morals. So liable are founders and members. So we discussed this already. Okay, Article 148, direct assault. So ano naman yung direct assault? There are two kinds. First, one, without public uprising, by employing force or intimidation for the attainment of any of the purpose enumerated in defining the crimes of rebellion and sedition. So dapat nag-employ sa some force or intimidation, tapos ang iyang gina-attack is to attain, ang purpose nila is to attain the purposes of crime of rebellion or any other objects of the crime of sedition. But there must be no public uprising. Okay, the second kind, another form of direct assault is still without public uprising. Nag-attack siya, nag-employ siya some force, or by seriously intimidating or by seriously resisting any person in authority or any of his agents while engaged in the performance of official duties. Dapat na naka-perform siya sa official duties. Kung wala man siya naka-perform sa official duties on the occasion of such performance. So elements, offender makes an attack, employs force, makes serious intimidation, or serious resistance. And the person assaulted is a person in authority or his agent. So we will discuss later kung anong person Bless me, sorry. Excuse me, guys. Kung ano ang person in authority. 3, at the time of the assault, the person in authority or his agents is engaged in the actual performance of official duties, and that he is assaulted by reason of the past performance or of official duties. So, pwede nga in actual performance siya, pero kung wala sang actual performance, due to the past performance of his official duties. Like for example, a judge, kung in-attack siya while in a hearing, di ba? That is direct assault. Whatever reason is, kung ginattack siya kay like for example, diskartehan niya, for example, ang misis ang nag-attack. So, that's still direct assault because he is in the performance of his official duties while he was attacked, di ba? Pero like for example, nagalakad si judge, why na siya sa court, di ba? Nag-attack siya. Tapos ang families, ang ginhatulan niya, for instance, gin-attack siya, sumbag siya, ginpukpok siya sa bato, or ginpuno siya, then that's still direct assault, even though he's not in the performance of his official duties na. Nagalakat na siya, yeah. But then, he was assaulted by reason of the past performance of his official duties. So, na siya. And the offender knows that he is the one that the one he is assaulting is a person in authority or agent in the exercise of his duties. So dapat balaan niya nga public officer or employee ang ina-attack niya or a person in authority ang ina-attack niya. So not all persons in authority must be public officer or employee. Ha? Like teachers, for instance, there are also persons in authority. And there is no public uprising. Dapat wala sang public uprising. Okay. Okay. Dapat the crime is not based on the material consequence of the unlawful act. Pwede man niyang nakailag si judge. Pwede man niyang why siya yan na hurt, di ba? The crime of direct assault punishes the spirit of lawlessness and the contempt or hatred for the authority or the rule of law. Yeah. To be specific, if a judge was killed while holding a session, the killing is not direct assault but murder. Okay? Kaya napatay siya mo. There could be direct assault if the offender killed the judge simply because the judge is so strict in the fulfillment of his duty. Okay? Dapat may siya, may in relation to the fulfillment of his duty. It is the spirit of hate which is the essence of direct assault. Okay, first form of direct assault. 3 men broke into the NFA, which is a government agency, di ba? National Food Authority. Mga nobles ang bugas, NFA rice, di ba? 3 men broke into the warehouse of NFA. Nagalament sila, sila sa suffering sa mga people. So, ginambalan nila, di ba, ginbuksan nila ang warehouse, ang nila sa mga tao. Kuha kamudi sa bugas. But they themselves, wala sila yan nagkuha sa bugas. So, their purpose is not to gain. Dumayara lang sila yasang social cause na paglaban, di ba? Pinaglalaban sila. Sana all pinaglalaban. Okay. The crime committed was direct assault. There was no robbery, for there was no intent to gain. And the crime is direct assault by committing the acts of sedition, spoiling of property, or for any political or social end. So it could be seditious man nga for seditious purposes. Okay, or any person, municipality, province, or national government of all or any of its properties, but there is no public uprising. Okay? So we will define what is person in authority. Diba? Kaya kinakabalaan natin kung anong person in authority for us to distinguish if direct assault ang in-commit or not. So a person in authority is any person directly vested with jurisdiction, whether as an individual or as a member of some court or government corporation, board, or commission. A barangay chairman is deemed a person in authority. So si Kapitan ta, dito sa pag-i-attack kay person in authority siya. Okay, so, sorry. Or sa performance ng iya function, when you attack your barangay chairman or kapitan, it is deemed to be a violation of this article. So, ang i-charge mo is direct assault. Okay, ginsaway ka ning kapabi kay curfew na, tapos ginhaboy mo siya sa bato. Diba? Bad. Okay. Agent of a person in authority is any person who is by direct provision of law or by election or by appointment by a competent authority is charged with the maintenance of public order and the protection and security of life and property, such as barangay councilman or mga kagawad, kagawad, barangay tanod, mga ganon. Barangay leaders, or any person who comes to an aid of a person in authority. So in applying the provisions of 148 and 151, teachers, professors, so mga teachers nyo, professors and persons charged with the supervision of the public or duly recognized private schools, colleges, universities, and lawyers are in actual performance of their duties or on the occasion of such performance shall be deemed person in authority. Okay. The second form of direct assault, it is also important that the offended party balaan niya that the person he is attacking is a person in authority or an agent of a person in authority performing his official functions. So no knowledge, no lawlessness, or contempt. For example, if two persons were quarreling, a policeman in civilian clothes comes and stops them, but one of the protagonists stabs the policeman, there would be no direct assault unless the offender knew that he is a policeman. Okay, kaya civilian uniform siya mo. Okay. Article 149, indirect assault. Elements, a person in authority or his agents is a victim of any of the forms of direct assault defined in Article 148. A person comes to an aid of such authority or his agent, and the offender makes use of force or intimidation upon such person coming to an aid of a person in authority or his agent. The victim in direct assault should be a private person. Dapat private person who comes to an aid of an agent of a person in authority. So, dapat may aras ng direct assaultan na, di ba? Medyo complicated na siya. Person in authority, tapos may aras siya agent. So, kung in-commit against person in authority or sa iya agent, direct assault na siya. Okay? Pero kung may like for example, ngayon sila bulig sa isa ka private person. So, isa ka private person, sa aid nila, pero ginbugbog pa ni for example, ang private person. Yan. So, the crime committed against this private person is indirect assault. Well, sa duwangan ni, for example, si kapitan, tapos si kagawad. Diba? May ginrespondihan silang ginamo. Tapos, because nabugbog na si kapitan, si kagawad, nangayos na bulig sa isa ka private person or nag-respond din ng private person to help them. So, kung nag-help si private person, ang nakomit nga crime against the private person, like for example, kay sa puti man siya, the crime committed against this private person is indirect assault. Well, sa kagawad kay kapitan, direct assault. So dapat may direct assault anay bago magka-indirect assault. Okay? Article 150. Disobedience to summons issued by Congress, its committees, or subcommittees by constitutional commissions, its committees, subcommittees, or division. So, simple mo lang guys. Dapat, like for example, kung makabaton ka sang summon issued by Congress, kung wala ka man lang sa valid reason to refuse, dapat mag-attend ka because if not, you will be committing a crime under this article. Then, 151, resistance and disobedience to a person in authority or the agents of such person. So, elements ng resistance, a person in authority or his agent is engaged in the performance of official duty or gives a lawful order to the offender. The offender resists or seriously disobeys such person in authority or his agents. And the act of the offender is not included in the provision of Articles 148, 190, 1149, and 150. Elements of simple disobedience under the second paragraph. Dapat agent of a person in authority is engaged in the performance of the official duty and gives lawful order to the offender. Diba? Ginsaway siya, for example, ni kagawad or ni barangay tanod. Tapos, nag-disobey siya. Okay? So, such disobedience is not is not of a serious nature. So, kung hindi, tamang na serious, resistance siya. Pero like, for example, kung may pangmulay, may pang sakit, so that is direct assault. Di ba? Tumults and other disturbances of public order. So, ginamo, tumults. Causing any serious disturbance in the public place, office, or establishment. So, dapat public place, office, or establishment. City Hall, for instance. Interrupting or disturbing performances, functions, or gatherings, or peaceful meetings if the act is not included in Articles 131 and 132. So, making an outcry tending to incite rebellion or sedition in any meeting, association, or public place. Displaying placards or emblems which provoke a disturbance of public order in such place. Burying with pomp the body of a person who has been legally executed. Useful. Okay. Unlawful use of means of publication and unlawful kataw. Dali lang. Utterances. Okay, unlawful use of means of publication and unlawful utterances. Acts punish, publishing or causing to be published by means of printing, lithography, or any other means of publication, any news, false news, which may endanger the public order or cause damage to the interests or credit of the state. Encouraging disobedience to the law or to the constituted authorities, or praising, justifying, or extolling any act punished by law, or by the same means, or by words, utterances, or speeches. Malicious publishings, or causing to be published any official resolution or document without proper authority. So it's either or before they have been published officially, or printing, publishing, or distributing, causing the same books, pamphlets, periodicals, or leaflets which do not bear the real printer's name, which are classified as anonymous. So actual public disorder or actual damage to the state is not necessary. So kung, di ba, may ginatawag na libel or oral defamation. So if the purpose of libel or oral defamation is for to cause, damage or interest or credit to the state or endanger public order, so that is a crime under this article 154. Ang intent lang man ang necessary. The actual damage is not necessary. Okay? On the Article 155, alarms and scandals. So, discharging firearm, rocket, fire rocket, or other explosive within any town or public place calculated to cause or produce alarm of danger. So, instigating or taking an active part in charivari or other disorderly meeting, offensive to another or prejudicial to public tranquility, disturbing the public peace while wandering about at night or while engaged in any other nocturnal amusements. So causing any disturbance or scandal in public places wherein while intoxicated or otherwise provided under Article 153 is not applicable. So sa alarms and scandals, like may mga ano man ni guys, like for example paputok ka sa firearm, you can be committing either mga tatlo ka, kung maputok, mag-illegal discharge ka for example sa firearm, pwede nga alarms and scandals. Like for example, papaputok ka sa babaw, hindi ka licensed to have a firearm and then you're not authorized, hindi siya warning shot. Yeah, so if you discharge a firearm upwards, that may be alarms and scandals. If gintutok mo siya sa isa ka tao, that could be illegal discharge of firearm. If without the intent to kill that person. Pero kung may intent to kill ka, or gusto mo siya it could be either parricide, kung parents mo or or di man, homicide or murder, depende. Okay, 156, delivering prisoners from jail. So dapat private person ka dire. A person confined in a jail or public establishment, tapos ikaw gin-remove mo siya sa kulungan to help him escape. Okay, so pwede nga 3 persons ang involved diri, ang stranger, ang custodian, or ang prisoner. So, kung custodian ka, ang imong crime nga na-commit is infidelity in the custody of prisoners. Kung stranger ka naman niya, delivery of a prisoner from jail. And kung ikaw ang nagtakas, ang imo na-commit is the evasion of service of sentence. So, pwede gani guys nga, like for example, public officer ka, pero hindi ikaw ang custodian. Tapos, if you help a person escape, so what do you think is the crime that was committed? Infidelity or delivery? So in my opinion, it is delivery of a prisoner from jail because you are not a custodian. Diba? Okay. Article 157, evasion of service of sentence. So kung ginsentensyahan ka guys, you're a convict of final judgment. So dapat na-declare ka nga guilty beyond reasonable doubt. Hindi ka pa nga siling detained person ka pa lang, di ba? Convict ka na yan, convict. You're not a detainee, but a convict. Di ba? Ang difference na, ang detainees, naghulat pa sila sa ilang verdict, di ba? Kung guilty sila or not. Pero ang convict na sentensyahan na yan. So, dapat nag-serve ka na sa imong sentence. And then you evade the sentence. So you escape from imprisonment, or pwede ba na yung nga kung ginhatagan ka pardon, mga mo na bala. Or, yan, you violated the conditions of your pardon, or you failed to return within 48 hours in times of calamity. Okay? So, qualifying circumstances, kung ang invasion mo is by means of unlawful entry, or by breaking doors, windows, gates, walls, roof, or floors, or nagamit ka sang picklock, false keys, disguise, deceit, violence, or intimidation, or nag-connive ka sa other conflicts or employees of the penal institution. Kung ginubra mo ang the following, na-qualify, kumbaga, ng imong crime. So, ano kayo, nakakulong ka naman, di ba? But, kung this is another conviction. So, mapatong naman. Imbis nga, like for example, imbis nga 6 years, so dinugangan mo naman na yung sentensya. Okay, Article 158, evasion of service of sentence on the occasion of disorders, conflagrations, earthquakes or other calamities. So, natandaan nyo guys, ang bagyong Yolanda. Sa bagyong Yolanda, di ba nagkalaguba ang mga So, yung part sa mga nagkaguba is mga prisuhan. So, during that time, ang mga prisoners ang nakalaya. Because naguba ganing prisuhan. Sa Tacloban to siya. Then, the offender, may mga offenders to by final judgment na confined dito. But then again, to sila, kaya kung wala sila ginpagwa, wala sila nakagwa, napatay gid sila to sa prisuhan, like because of the may storm surge. So, yun. So, kung mag-evade ka during that time to save your life, it's okay. Pero pag naghupa ng ang calamity, you must go back. So, dapat nag-surrender ka. Because kung mag-surrender ka, within 48 hours, wala ka nag-commit sa evasion of service of sentence. And what is better is ma-reduce pa ni mo sentensya. Okay? Gina-reduce ni siya guys ang mga penalty or mga years nga i-serve if it happens nga makalaya ka tapos nagbalik ka. Okay? You must surrender within 48 hours from the issuance or proclamation by a chief executive nga naglampas na kumbaga ang kalamidad. Okay, other cases of evasion of service of sentence. Offender was a convict. He was granted pardon by the chief executive. Kung may pardon, guys, hindi ka man totally free. May aras ng iba niya condition. May conditions pa attached. So if it's not absolute pardon, if it's just a conditional pardon, you should follow the conditions of your pardon. If not, you're evading your sentence, or you violated the conditions of such pardon. May Article 160. Wait lang. Article 160, commission of another crime during the service of penalty imposed for another previous offense. So the offenders, Article 160, is already convicted by final judgment. Kaisa lang. And then you commit another felony before beginning to serve such sentence while serving the same. Or while serving the same. Like for example, ka na sa bilibid. Nag-serve ka na sa sentensya mo, tapos nag-commit ka pa sang murder inside the penal institution, for instance. So, nag-commit ka sang 160. And then, on top of the new offense that you committed. Okay? So that would be the end of the lecture. Medyo mahaba ba? For your attendance, you answer this question. What article, aside from Article 160, was not included in the slides nga naka-title, okay? Nga wala title. And that's an article that does not read